Okay, I'd like to show a demonstration. And in this demonstration, I'm going to be working with this chatbot that we are currently building. Now, don't worry. This is just one that I set up for the demonstration purposes. This chatbot allows me to communicate with OpenAI. Hi there. And then OpenAI responds back to me. And it also gives me some indication of the number of tokens that I'm using. This one's specifically built around a coffee shop. So we can get some information around that coffee shop. Now, I have built some Tosca tests that I am executing where I'm essentially asking it questions like, what's the best type of coffee? What's the best type of coffee mug? And then the age-old question, drip or espresso? And as you can see, these tests aren't going very well. I'm able to properly steer the application, but the problem is that every time it asks GPT a question, I get a response that's just different. It's always different. And it tends to take a little bit of extra time. And so what I want to do today is I want to use these tests that I've created to steer my application and then automatically learn the virtual services in the background. So let's take a look at what's actually happening behind this application. And this is what I just pointed out earlier in the presentation. Is my application is actually communicating through the simulation proxy, and it is trying to either serve up simulated responses, and if it doesn't have them, it serves real responses. Now, I don't have any simulation, and so what I'm going to use is our new learning mode to generate the simulated responses on the fly, and then swap in some responses that are more similar to what I have in my test case in a second. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and navigate over to the simulation engine, which is currently running also in a container. And right now I have a connection that I have uploaded into the system. It's currently listening on this port, and it's forwarding all messages that come into my engine to my OpenAI system. And back in my code, I've actually reconfigured my application so that it talks to the simulation and not the real OpenAI system. Okay, enough nerdy stuff. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my simulation, and I'm going to say, okay, instead of being in pass-through mode, let's go into learning mode. I'm now in learning mode. And so any traffic that goes through the simulator will be captured and converted into virtual services. So I'm going to go back to my assistant, and I'm going to tell Tosca to go ahead and steer this application again. And so now it's essentially just going to ask it a series of questions. Now, as I indicated earlier, ChatGPT can be quite slow, and so just bear with me as we go through these use cases. Okay, there's our first one. Ooh, big response for that one. Next call, how's it brewing today? Best coffee mug. Okay, and there's our third response coming back, drip or espresso. And now our test cases are completed. And as expected, they all failed because yet again, as those responses are coming back through, my data is not predictable. Okay, here's the good news. As all that was happening and I was in learn mode, we now have learned a series of beautiful virtual services. And what's happening is that it's using the AI template that we provide. This template essentially covers 90% of the use cases you'll have with OpenAI and says, what do you look for when an OpenAI message comes through? And in this case, this one has looked for the request, hi there, and is then providing a response that comes back through. How's it brewing today? The next one goes through and says, I am looking for hi there, as well as the Bean Assistant. The next one that comes back through has this message that has what's the best coffee mug? And then the last one says, should I be looking for drip or espresso? Okay. Now, the good news is if I were to replay these, I would actually get all of my responses back from the chatbot in a predictable way, closely aligned to the Tosca test case that I have. And so I'm just going to remove these 4 services and pull ones that I have pre-created for this purpose. And so I'll just say add, I'll upload them. I've got these 4 right here. And the only difference between these and the ones we just looked at was that I have specified responses that are the same as the responses that I have inside Tosca. Okay. My learning connection is still in learning mode. And so now if I were to go back to Tosca and I were to say, all right, let's run these again, I should get much faster and predictable responses coming back from OpenAI. Let's see. Here's my first response, coming back quicker. Oh, there's my second response. Yeah, this is happening much faster. Oh, here comes the next refresh. And so, in addition to it responding quickly, it's also responding the way that I told it to. And this means more predictable environments, lower costs, faster execution, and the ability to test my OpenAI systems without all of that test flakiness. And so if I were to go into one of these results, I would see, yes, the data came across and in the way that I had injected into my virtual services. All right, that about wraps it up for today. I hope you found this demonstration useful and you can include simulation in your future testing practices.